My mom started adult ballet classes and I was very jealous of her. And so I begged her to let me do classes and she was very hesitant. She was like, "You're only 3 years old." She made a pact where if I stopped sucking my thumb, she would let me do ballet classes because they couldn't get me to stop. And so I finally stopped and she let me do ballet classes and I loved them, and yeah, that's pretty much how it all started.
I am the youngest of 3 daughters, and both of my sisters kind of grew up dancing, so I followed their lead, and we each kind of peeled off into our respective styles. I wanted to be a Rockette since I was really young, and then realized I wasn't tall enough for it, so I decided to give ballet a try instead and fell in love with it. I pretty much kept dancing from age 3 until age 17 when I ended up getting injured, and so I had a back surgery. I thought my career was going to be over, and my career was. However, my passion was not, and so a year and a half later I started again with ballet club. Getting that injury, it was really rough. Yeah, I was 16 years old and they were pretty much telling me that I had to have surgery and I was in large amounts of pain. It hurt to breathe. It was very devastating, especially because I had finally gotten a big role as the Sugar Plum Fairy in the Nutcracker, and I was begging everyone to let me continue. And so I got to have my final performance as the Sugar Plum Fairy, which I was always growing up watching. I at least had the moment where I was like, I can do one last and then I'll say goodbye. I grew up in a studio where it was like you never got complimented if you did something good. It was like you were complimented if they didn't say anything bad. Or if they said it was like, all right, then that was a compliment. You were expected to do everything and not complain about anything. So it was a lot of like wake up in high school, go to school all day, try to do as much homework as I could because I didn't have any time when I got home, shovel dinner down my throat in like 2 minutes, go to dance for 4 hours at night, come home exhausted and stay up all night doing the rest of my homework. It was very much so push you to your end limits, and I think that's kind of what led to all the injuries that I have experienced. It led to eating disorders and all sorts of other challenges, like friends weren't really friends. I experienced like with auditions and whenever casting would go up, that almost dictated like how my friendships and relationships were impacted. This sounds silly, but I've seriously like lost some friends and damaged relationships because I got a role and they didn't, or vice versa. Like the ballet environment was definitely very, very difficult growing up, and it has shaped me into who I am in good ways and in bad ways. Then I came to college and I was a little bit hesitant about joining ballet in college, honestly, because I've had that kind of negative experience. And I'm immediately off the bat, I was kind of shocked by like, oh my, like this is different. Like how can ballet be this way? Like I thought ballet was always supposed to be stressful and negative. When I kind of found myself experiencing that like happiness and joy that I did as a child, I was like, oh my God, this is great. Like where has this been? So it's been kind of a rocky road, but I am just so in love with dance again. I'm an athletic training major, and sometimes I'll have even my professors kind of talk about ballet as like a light and easy activity when it's like, no, it's actually pretty difficult. I think a lot of people underestimate how hard ballet is because we do that on purpose, because that's the whole point of ballet. You're never supposed to know how hard it is. I recently saw something. It talked about how they took the stats from a basketball practice compared to a ballet practice, and they found that in ballet you jump like hundreds of times, and then in a basketball practice it's like 50 or something. But it's like, oh yeah, and then in the ballet class you jump those hundreds of times in a span of 10 minutes. And yet, in the basketball game, it's like throughout however long. If ballet dancers truly showed on their face and in their appearance how hard ballet actually is, it would absolutely be considered a sport. It's very confusing and it's very disheartening because it is a sport and we are athletes, and I'd like to see anyone else try to do a ballet class and call it light activity. It's so expensive. oh my gosh, it's so expensive. Like the summer intensives I was talking about, but it was like, it was like $5,000, and then point shoes are like $100 each, and I would go through like 3 of them a week.
We are big fundraisers. We fundraise so much. We pay to use the theater, but we also don't charge people to come, because that is also something that we take pride in, is making it low cost for every single person who wants to do it or see it. We do a lot of our own costume making. Like we have semesterly craft night. A lot of club members will come and they get to kind of work on their own costumes or other costumes, and then you also get the level of pride when you worked on this leotard and then you see someone performing in it.
And we actually encourage people who have never danced before, or people who have been like me dancing since they were 2. Like truly anyone can join this club. And we really cater towards each individual skill level. And we also have like master classes for beginner dancers to learn like what ballet is, because that is kind of our mission, is to make ballet very accessible and very non-judgmental. My sister is an editor for Dance Magazine, and she tells me all of these cool companies, like a dance company who it's all hard of hearing or deaf dancers. I think people nowadays are taking ballet and challenging it and stretching it and making it into something a lot more beautiful and a lot more interesting.
I love ballet, I think, just because it is able to encompass my athletic and my artistic sides.
You get to escape and you get to go to a whole other world, and for me it feels like physically satisfying to express myself through like movement.
I think it's important to have ballet to continue for so long, because it is such a unique discipline and is something that people really do enjoy watching.
We need to continue to have artists out there that challenge each other and make it grow into something that is accessible and useful. I think ballet is just so useful and dance in general, but the feeling of elegance and the feeling of grace while being able to like let out your emotions and connect with other people and challenge your body, but also challenge your mind.
I think that ballet is something where you can see the past, like right now. You can see what the past was like, and you can see how it's developed. And so I think ballet is so important to keep around, truly, because like it is history.